What is simple interest? Well, in today's lesson, when we talk about it, let's just go ahead and abbreviate interest as a capital I and understand that sometimes interest is just the extra money that you're charged for borrowing money. Like you need $500 and you don't have it, so you go to a place and they give you the $500. And that's okay, but then you have to pay the $500 back with extra money. That extra money is the interest. So that's if you're in the borrowing money stage. However, if you actually have the money and you don't need it, and somebody else is like, hey, could I borrow that money from you? Then you get to wait for them to pay you back that $500 that you're loaning out with interest, and you get the money. So it just kind of depends on which side of the desk that you're sitting on, the one that's giving out the money or the one that's asking for the money. That is interest, okay? Now, we do have a formula to calculate how this interest is, the amount of money that you're going to have to pay back extra. We do have a formula that we're going to use. This interest is going to be P times R times T. So what's the P, R, and T? Well, we're going to go through and give you a brief recap up here about what they are, and then we're going to use this formula to find simple interest in a couple of scenarios. The money we're going to actually call principal, so we'll use a P for that. It's the amount that you would borrow if you don't have it and you're trying to get it, or if you're loaning it out, it's the amount that you invested and hoping that they pay it back with the interest. So if you wanted to think about what principal really is, it's money, okay? It's the money that you're putting into it, not the extra money, but the original money you needed or loaned out. The rate is just simply the percent. So if you said, yeah, I'll give you the $500, but you got to pay me back 5%, then that is the rate. So that's a bad percent sign right there, but that's what the rate is, it's percent. And then time is pretty easy. However, for this formula, we need time to be in years. So if they gave you like 6 months, you would need to make that into a year. How much is a year that is only 6 months? Well, it would be a half. So, you could take those broken parts of months and make them into fractions or decimals of a year. If they gave you, a certain number of days, you would need to put that into a fraction of however many days over 365, because that's how many days are in a year. So this one's not too bad. That one's time T for years. So let's go down and take a look at how to use this formula. I always tell my students, if you can find these three situations right here, the principal, the rate, and the time, then you can easily plug them straight into your calculator and just multiply them. The first one that I always try to find is the rate, and just scanning through here, I see the 6.5% just screaming to be pointed out as a rate. And then I look at the dollar signs. I see $200 is deposited. And then how long was it sitting in there? 4 years. So let's take a look at it. This student is just letting his money sit in the bank. He's got $200. He puts it in there. The bank says, we will give you 6.5% per year to let it just sit there. Find that interest. How much interest would you earn in 4 years? So the student is not borrowing. He's investing it. And it's just sitting there. And if we just multiply these three things together, we'll know exactly how much extra money he's earned. Always write down the formula that you're using. And now let's plug in the information below it. And now we can go straight to the calculator. Now for the calculators that we're using, we can go ahead and put a percent sign right next to this, and we don't have to do anything else. And so 6.5%, we're literally, you can see it right here, putting the percent sign using this button right here, and then we can just times it by the time. 4, hit enter. This is how much interest the student has earned after 4 years. Now he still has his $200 right here, but the bank is going to give him an extra $52 on top of that. So your answer is $52, but this is a story problem, so we need to restate our answer just very clearly right here to the side. And since the student is, depositing this money, he's investing it, so he gets this money. Now, if it was a slightly different scenario and they said the student needed to borrow $200 and he promised to pay it back in 4 years, but he was paying 6.5% interest, he would pay back all the $200, and then he'd also be given back $52 on top of it. It would be paying interest. So again, it just depends on the scenario. Go try number 2 and see if you can get this one correct. Find the interest earned on $3,600 invested at 3.5% simple interest for 5 years. Remember, use the percent sign right here for 3.5%, okay? And multiply those three things together and you'll see that the answer is 630. So the interest earned would be $630.